But today, the topic we're going to be talking about today is called mentorship, right? So we're talking about mentorship and why is it important for women in tech, right? So we're all women and we want to know what mentorship is and why do we need mentorship as people in tech or women in tech. So first off, I love statistics a lot. I love numbers a lot because I am in the marketing space and we deal with numbers a lot. So I usually like to start with statistics, right? Because I want to talk about why this is important and why we think we should get into mentorship or why mentorship is ideal for a woman, especially if you're a woman in tech. So 47.7% of the global workforce is occupied by women. Like women occupy like 47.7% of the entire global workforce, and that's like really less. So it just means that the men are taking the upper lead, which isn't bad, but I mean we can do better, right? And that's for the global workforce. And I'm not looking at just Nigeria because I think everyone should think global. You shouldn't just be thinking about Nigeria. Even if you're working on yourself as a brand, you should think global and not just local, right? Then for out of this entire global workspace, for women in STEM, we have just 35%. So in as much as we have 47.7% of people of the global workforce being women or being the female folk, we just have 35% of women in STEM. And I am picking STEM because I'm not just talking about tech, I'm talking about science, technology, and the rest, right? So we want to increase that. We should increase that because even as you go further down the line, you see that it's reducing. And then that 35% is just within the USA, right? And then when you come down to like Asia, you come down to Africa, you come down to Europe, the number lessens, it goes down to 28%. So that means we need to get a lot of people, not just a lot of people, we need to get a lot of women into tech and they need to understand how to do that. And that's where mentorship comes in, right? And then for women in tech in C-suite, so it's not just about women being in tech, women being in tech who are in C-suite. By C-suite, I mean people in leadership positions, people in management positions, like leadership positions in companies. That's what C-suite means. And then for women who are in tech and in the C-suite space, that's about 25%. That's really low. And out of the entire 47.7% who are in the global workforce and who are women, only 37% are interested in leadership and management. So what all of this tells you, this is just the global state of women in tech. It just tells you that even as we go higher, the number reduces. And the reason why it's reducing is because sometimes women are shying away from these opportunities. And the reason why they're shying away from these opportunities, sometimes they feel like they can't do it, or there's imposter syndrome, or sometimes they don't even know where to get started with. So that's why we are here, and that's why we're in a community like this where we can learn a lot of things and where we can understand how to start, who to hold our hands, and communities that would help us thrive as women. So the next thing I want to talk about, so in as much as we are women, so I know as a woman, if you're here, you want to do better for yourself. Either you're already in the tech space, you want to transition to the tech space, or you're a career woman, or you're someone looking to juggle both career and family. It just means that you want better for yourself, right? So for women who are in tech, in as much as they're in the career space already, retention is a huge thing, right? 66% of women, right, lack a defined career advancement route. Like they know sometimes they know the career path they want to follow, but they don't even know how to start, where to start from, right? And that's over 66%. And that's a problem because if you don't know where to start from, how do you know what to start doing? If you know what to start doing, but you don't know where to start from, it makes it harder. You get confused and you just get stuck. And that's why we're here. We need to understand how to get started and how to leverage mentorship as a tool to move further or thrive in our career in tech. So 1.6 women are most likely to be laid off than men, right? So when it comes to layoffs, when people are being laid off, so usually you would see retrenchment within the tech space. We're entering like the Q1, you would hear a lot of retrenchment, especially outside the country and within other continents. You would see a lot of retrenchments, but most of these retrenchments most of them would be women. And why are women being laid off? Sometimes it can stem down to biases around the workspace, can stem down to a lot of factors that we're not necessarily going to talk about, but I am just explaining why women in tech it's harder to retain women in tech, and these are the reasons from statistics that have been found. And then also the employment turnover rate. So employment turnover rate is how faster people like enter the space or work with the company and then leave the company, right? So if you start working with the company, how fast do you stay with the company and then leave the company? So that's like the turnover rate. So 57%, 57% of the entire turnover rate. Sorry, I'm distracted. 57% is the turnover rate we have when it comes to employment, right? And when it has to do with women, because for some women, when they enter the workspace, within 2 years, they just want to stay with the company for maybe 2 years, maximum 2 years, and they want to leave the space, right? And most of them, the reasons why they want to leave the space is because most of them are complaining about either work-life balance, not being able to balance their life as women and then work, or also the pay disparity when it comes to working in the space, either between people with higher skills or people or the male folk. So that leads to like a higher turnover rate when it comes to women in tech, especially in the tech space. So now let me talk about mentorship. Why have I spoken about all of these statistics and why am I talking about all of these things? And the reason why I'm talking about this is because mentorship is a good tool that if used or leveraged properly would help women thrive in the tech space. And what is mentorship? So mentorship, the easiest way I like to define it for myself, I like to see mentorship as a guidance relationship between an experienced person, which is called the mentor, and an inexperienced person, which is called the mentee, where the mentor guides the mentee, provides guidance, provides support, and also provides valuable experience for the mentee to be able to achieve their goals, for the mentee to gain valuable experience, and for the mentee to thrive in whatever space they want to thrive in. So that's what I call mentorship. So in mentorship, you have to look out for three things. It must give you support, it must give you guidance, and you must also be gaining valuable experience if you're being mentored. So if you're not gaining those three things, then you can't call that relationship mentorship, right? And remember, it is a guidance relationship. It is not a friendship. I'll get to a slide where I'll talk about what mentorship isn't. It's just a guidance relationship where you gain support, where you gain guidance, and also gain valuable experience. So why do women in tech need mentorship, right? Like I said, I already spoke about the statistics, how the women folk in tech and just in the general global workspace is really small, and we need to increase that. So we need mentorship from women who are already there, and not just from women, but even from the male folk and from everyone, depending on what your goals are. But we need mentorship so we can break down the barriers to entry. There are barriers to entry in tech. One of the barriers would be lack of knowledge, or even lack of understanding on where to start from, right? And also biases within the tech space. So most of these barriers to entry limit women from entering the tech space or transitioning to the tech space. So if you gain mentorship from people who are already there, especially women who are there, it will be easier for you to break into the tech space for people who want to break into it. And then when you've entered the tech space, you still need resilience, because the tech space is a space that keeps evolving from time to time. Depending on what role you're in, you would keep evolving, you will keep learning skills, you will keep gaining new experiences. So you need resilience as a human being. Even as a woman, you need more resilience, because you're in a space where sometimes the playing field is not leveled, and sometimes things are not fair. So you need to even double up your hustle and even double up like your hard work, and make sure, and even work smarter to make sure you get to where you want to be. So you need resilience. And because you need that, you need mentorship, right? Another reason why women in the tech space need mentorship is because we need to address confidence gaps. So there are confidence gaps within the tech space. People sometimes are really skilled at what they do, but sometimes they would face things like imposter syndrome, or they wouldn't even have the confidence to even speak about what they do, right? So we need women who have done that, who have experienced that in the space and who have overcome that. We need them to hold the hands of people who are just entering the space and people who need to thrive in the space, so that we can address these confidence gaps we have as women in the space. Remember, if this is addressed, the global workforce for women would increase, women in tech would increase, and then women in C-suite and in higher positions would also increase. And that is what we want as women. right? And then access to resources and opportunities. Sometimes there are opportunities you're not even aware of, unless you're in circles. There are certain circles you need to be in to be aware of certain opportunities. Not every opportunity you see announced on LinkedIn. There are opportunities in 1,000 and million and 1,001 opportunities that are not even announced online, but people are aware of them. So you need to be in communities and in circles that you can gain resources, you can gain opportunities, and that can help you thrive as a woman in tech. So that's one of the reasons why you need mentorship. Another reason is for career guidance. So sometimes because there are people who have gone ahead of you, you sometimes need to ride on the shoulders of people who have gone ahead of you to see further than, further that you can see at the moment, because these people have made mistakes and they've learned from these mistakes. You don't need to make these mistakes for you to learn. So you need this guidance, you need this support, you need the empowerment, especially if you're a woman that has goals, if you're a woman of vision and you want to thrive in the space. So you need mentorship. And the last reason I've noted down is for networking, for connections, and to create a sense of community. And it's one of the things that Zurich Circle is doing, for you to gain, have a sense of community, to have a sense of accountability as well. If you're starting off things, or if you're starting off projects that you feel like would be difficult, or if you need networking opportunities in circles or spaces you feel like you can't even get into, having a mentor or leveraging mentorship is one of the things that would help you do that. So I want to talk about what mentorship isn't, because it's very easy to confuse mentorship for something else, right? I've mentioned before that mentorship is in friendship, right? Your mentor is not your friend. You probably might have a friend who can mentor you, but it doesn't mean your mentor is your friend. So mentorship isn't a therapy session, right? It's not a place where you go to talk about everything bothering you. No, mentorship is really strategic, and because people are busy, you want to also save their time, and you also want to be serious. So mentorship is not a therapy session. It is not a teaching relationship. And the reason why I'm saying it's not a teaching relationship is because you must know what you want. You have to be really self-aware. You have to know what you want as a person before you approach someone for something, right? And why it's not a teaching relationship, you should be doing the learning on your own. You're coming for guidance. Remember, I said mentorship is a guidance relationship, to provide guidance, value, and then support, right? So nobody's coming there to teach you. You're not going there to learn. You are going there, you're not going there to like be fed bit by bit, if that makes sense. You're going there to understand how things are being done, especially in the space you want to grow in, so that you can grow and ride on the shoulders of people who have gone there ahead of you. So it's not a teaching relationship. So I don't want us to mistake that for that. And it's also not a one-time transaction, because a lot of people these days want to take and never give. So it's not a transaction, that is not a relationship that you go because you need something. Once you get it, you're out. Sometimes you have to keep the relationship with your mentor going further than you've even started it. And I think I'll talk about that in later slides when I talk about service and how it goes both ways between a mentor and a mentee. Mentorship is not a networking opportunity. So in as much as when you're leveraging mentorship, you can get networking, like you can get to network with other people, but the sole reason for mentorship is not a networking opportunity. You're not going there just because you've been looking for a way to get into this person's circle and to leverage this person's resources, and you just want to get in there and get that out. So it's not just a take relationship, it's a give and take relationship. It's a relationship of service. It's a relationship of guidance. So let's not mistake it with a networking opportunity. What are the forms of mentorship? Because, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because we've been mentored knowingly, consciously or unconsciously, even without knowing it. The first unit of socialization is the family. So most of us have had mentors even without knowing we've been mentored. Most of your initial mentors have been like your mother or your father, because sometimes for those of us who are married, like sometimes when you get into marriage, you find yourself sometimes doing things that, oh, your mom used to do, and you wouldn't even know you got those things. Or you even sometimes find yourself calling back home to like get information from one or two things. So formal mentorship programs, one of the forms of mentorship is formal mentorship program. That's different from informal. So the informal mentorship program is when you get mentored you get casual mentorships, or when you get unofficial mentors. And this kind of mentors can be maybe your friend, there can be people around you that you easily talk to. So in your head, you're not being mentored, you feel like you're not being mentored, but you're actually being mentored because it is in an informal space. The purpose is you learning, the purpose is you getting guidance and getting support. As long as you're getting that, you're being mentored. So sometimes you can be mentored in an informal setting without even knowing that you're being mentored. But we have formal mentorship, and this is the one that most people look out for. And for formal mentorship, it can be either in a one-on-one setting or in a group setting. So for group setting, you would see people who would maybe release their mentorship programs and tell you, oh, I'm available for mentorship, and I need people to sign up or something. So that's called group setting, a group mentorship. And it falls under formal, I think someone's mic is unmuted. And it falls under mentorship. And there's also one-on-one.
Sarah, please mute your mic. You're going to have time to ask questions right after she's done. I think that's Sarah's mic. Please mute your mic, Sarah. Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you, Linda. So there's formal mentorship, right? So for formal mentorship, it's divided. You have one-on-one, you have group. So one-on-one sometimes can be mistaken for coaching. And bear in mind, coaches are different from mentors. For a coach, you have to actively pay a coach to like guide you. The way you have life coaches, you have coaches in different aspects of your of settings or different spaces you want a coach in. So that's different from a mentor. So the formal mentorship is the ones that people look out for mostly. And that's because it is very structured. There's a structure in place. You come in and then we know this is what we want to get done. You already know the time frame, maybe 3 months. I'm going to be coaching, I'm going to be mentoring you for like the next 3 months. You probably will be paying me this amount of money, and then you would achieve this at the end of the mentorship period. So most times what you would see out there is the formal mentorship programs. That's what you would see, either in group settings or one-on-one. But most times the ones that can be easily accessible are usually the informal mentorship that you sometimes don't know you're being mentored, but you've been having access to people. For some of you, you probably have been mentored by your bosses without even knowing it, right? The times your boss will tell you, oh, this is not how to do this, get this done this particular way. For someone like me, maybe when it comes to like presentation of slides, I've been mentored by a lot of people without even knowing it. So when it comes to things like that, skills that you need to grow in, you've sometimes been mentored by your bosses or your supervisors without even knowing it. So these are called informal mentorship. As long as they're providing support, they're guiding you, and you're gaining valuable information or experience while you're being mentored, that is a mentorship. It's called mentorship, but it's just in an informal setting. So let's not shy away from opportunities like that, because sometimes opportunities like that are what is readily available rather than the ones we're eyeing for. And then we have peer mentorship. So peer mentorship is when you're being mentored by people around either the same age range or the same career setting, like people maybe like your colleagues or your friends or your peers. As long as it's your peers, either in the workspace, in your general life, or your friends, that's what's called peer mentorship. So sometimes you can have a friend that is maybe great at let's say is good in the tech space, and you want to get into the tech space, right? Okay, tech space is too broad, let me say blockchain space, right? And you want to get into the blockchain space, and you meet this your friend and you say, oh, teach me how to get into this space. And that person starts teaching you. You're getting valuable experience while they're teaching you. That person is supporting you. Like for every time you want to do something and you feel like you're not doing it the right way, and you go back to them to ask them questions, that is them supporting you and then guiding you on the steps to take. So peer mentorship is a form of mentorship. And sometimes you have access to that without even knowing you have access to that. Then we have the last one is reverse mentorship. So you know how I said mentorship is between a mentor and a mentee? Sometimes a mentee the mentor can learn from the mentee, right? And that's called reverse mentorship. So when the mentee teaches the mentor maybe some skills that the mentor needs some brushing up on or needs to learn, that's called reverse mentorship. So mentorship sometimes can be two ways, but just know that as long as it's a guidance relationship between someone that is experienced, again, the person that is experienced doesn't have to be older. Sometimes the person is older than you, sometimes the person is not older than you, but it just means that in that particular space or field that you need mentorship in or you need guidance in, there's someone that knows better than you and you're trying to learn. So as long as you have that relationship between that person that knows better than you, that is called mentorship. I don't know if that's clear. So let me talk about how to approach a mentor. So how do you approach a mentor? You now know you need mentorship. You know mentorship is important. You know why it's important. So how do you now approach a mentor? So I have this XYZ formula I use for almost everything, right? And for most of you that know, if you've worked on your resume, sometimes you use the XYZ formula for when you're working on your resume or updating your resume with things you've done. So the XYZ formula in mentorship is X. X means X is the discovery stage. It means that for you to discover, to even know the need that you need mentorship, you need to know the area you need mentorship in. You ought to have discovered that, oh, there's this area, this space I'm lacking in, or this skill I'm lacking in, or this area I need help in. So I need to close this gap. There's this problem I have, there's this flaw I have, and I need to close this gap. So mentorship, because we're talking about it, about the career space, you can be mentored in different aspects of your life. You can be mentored in marriage, you can be mentored in public speaking, you can be mentored in friendship, you can be mentored in anything, as long as there's a space, there's a gap you want to close when it comes to learning, you can be mentored in that space. So discovering you have a gap to close or you have a problem, that's what I call X. So that's the discovery stage. So first of all, before you even approach a mentor, you have to know what you want to be mentored in. And then the next thing is, what do I want to achieve when I'm being mentored? What do I want to achieve? So that's what I call why, right? Having authentic goals to achieve. That's the goal second stage. What do I want to be achieved in? What do I want to achieve when I'm being mentored before I even approach the mentor? So I already know this the problem. For example, I'm in marketing. Let's say if I want to be mentored in strategy, I need to grow maybe in strategy and growth when it comes to the marketing space. So I discovered that I need to close the gap when it comes to strategy and growth as a marketing manager. So I now set my goals that, between now and the next 3 months, I need to develop my skills, my strategy skills and my growth skills. And when you've discovered what you need to be mentored in and you've set the goals for it. So goals can differ depending on what you want. For example, someone that wants to be mentored in marriage can be, I want to have sorry.
Jennifer, please mute your mic. You have your mic on.
I'm just going to continue. So when you discover what you want to be mentored in and then you set your goal, when you've set your goal, it's easier for you to know who is going to help you achieve that goal. If you know the area you need to close the gap in, you know the goals you want to achieve in that area, then it is very easier for you to know the particular person that needs to help you achieve those goals and the person you approach. And then as knowing the goal, the last one I call Z, is about the result. So what result do I want to gain? At the end of this time that I'm being mentored, what are the results I want to see in my space, in that particular area that I've noticed a gap? So you must have written all of this down. And when you've written all of this down, it will now give you a direction on who to approach or the kind of mentorship you need. Sometimes the problem with us is that we're looking at mentors that are far beyond our reach, right? And mentors we wouldn't necessarily get anything from. And we are really neglecting the people around us. There are a lot of, for example, someone wants to be mentored in you want to run businesses, right? You're in the business space and you want to make hit milestones when it comes to the business space. And you're looking at being mentored by an Otedola or a Dangote. That's you. Not that you're not going to get that. Definitely you're going to get that, but that's reaching too far. There are a lot of business people around you that are doing really great that you can easily. The principles are the same. As long as the principles are the same, whoever applies the principles gets the result. So what you should be looking at is who is applying these principles around me and is getting the result I want to get. That's who you should, you can easily reach out to. You don't want to go so far away and neglect the people around you because you are too familiar with them. So start with where you're at. You might sometimes even notice that the person that maybe your friend or your brother is probably the one you need mentorship from, right? Because that person is thriving in the particular area you need to thrive in. But you have your eyes set on people that you've seen their lives outside. You probably don't know them well enough, but you feel like you want to be like them. And so you're in their DMs begging, oh, can you mentor me? And most often at times, they will turn you down, right? Because sometimes people feel like You just want to take and not give. So mentorship is like also an act of service. So you're not just taking, you're also giving to like your mentor. And I think I'll explain that later. But when you put in this XYZ formula, like when you discover the gap you need to be mentored in, you know the goals you're trying to achieve as a person, depending on the space you want to be mentored in, then you now know the result you want to gain at the end of the day. You know where you want to see yourself when you're done being mentored. That will direct you on who to approach. And approaching your mentor is very easy. When you know the person you want to like hold your hand, you know the person that you want support from. So just reach out to the person and send a message, right? But before you reach out to the person to send a message, I would appeal that you check for people around you, because again, like I've said, there are different forms of mentorship. There's peer mentorship, there's informal mentorship, then there's formal mentorship. So check from the one that's easily accessible to you and start from there. The good thing is sometimes a mentor can be the one to even pick you out as a mentee, right? Without you even approaching the person. Everybody wants someone that brings value to them. So if you're in your space doing your thing and you're bringing in value, sometimes you can attract the attention of those people that you think are way, way far away that probably are not noticing you. But because you're doing so well, you're diligent in what you're doing and you're very resilient, you would attract these people, and sometimes they'll pick you out to mentor you, right? Without you even being mentored, right? Without you even knowing that you're being mentored. Sometimes you have access to these people without even knowing you have access to them. So I need you to understand that sometimes this access you have, sometimes people checking in on you and asking you, how is this thing going, for areas they are really skilled in, that can be an informal form of mentorship. It doesn't necessarily mean until someone calls you, oh, you're my mentee, I'm your mentor. That doesn't mean you're being mentored. Sometimes you can be mentored unconsciously without you knowing, but you need to sit down and realize that, oh, are there people around me who have been mentoring me? And how do I give back to them? And how do I take this really serious? And how do I really strategically leverage this mentorship in the years coming or moving forward? So for mentorship, in order for mentorship to be successful, there are things that we need to do for it to be really successful, for this mentorship as a tool to be successful for women in the tech space. Number one, I've spoken about goal setting, right? You have to set your goals. For someone like me in marketing, so my goal, okay, for someone like me, I want to transition into like growth strategy and then product marketing, right? So already what I am doing before I even approach anybody for that, I am consuming a lot of information on these areas I want to be mentored in. Again, sometimes you might not have access to these people to have one-on-one mentorship with them, but they have books, they've released books, they have books they've written, they have courses they've also released, digital courses that you can buy. These are snippets of them. This is coming from their head, their knowledge. So it doesn't necessarily mean until they jump on a one-on-one call with you to have a conversation with you, that's not the only way to get mentorship. You can gain mentorship by easily following them, by realizing the people you want to follow, the areas you want to fill in, and then you set your goals and then start consuming the knowledge you want to fill that gap in, right? That's one of the ways to like close the gap easily, even before approaching someone. So goal setting is very important, and clarity is also important. Understanding how this goal fits into your career trajectory. That's if you're needing mentorship in the career space or whatever area you're needing mentorship in. So you need to be really clear on what you want to gain out of it and what you hope to achieve by the end of it, right? Another thing is service. So service goes both ways for the mentor and the mentee. So when you're a mentee, you're not just there to keep taking and not giving anything. Your mentor should be able to like gain access to you. Your mentor should be able to gain one or two things from you. You should be able to help with what you should be a person of value. That's the easiest way to put it. You should be able to provide value. For an example, let's say, oh, I have a mentor. Let's say I have a mentor that maybe is my CMO, and maybe he has an event, a speaking event. Then I was being mentored by my CMO without even knowing it, right? And what I used to do for him, I used to prepare all his slides for like his speaking event, and I would run him through his presentation even before his event. He's having a speaking event. I'm the one doing the research. I'm the one preparing the slides. 1 hour before his event, or maybe a day before his event, we'll jump on a call and I take him through his slide one after the other. And that was what I was doing. And him, on the other hand, what he was doing for me, like he gave me insights in the space I was in that I didn't even know I needed as a then. And then he helped me, he streamlined my process and told me that he noticed what my strengths were and told me how to gain access in the marketing space with leveraging my strengths and the certifications to take. And he held my hand through it all. So that was one of the things he was doing for me. And I didn't even know I was being mentored. It was later on I realized, oh, that was what it was. But I also was a person of value. That was one of the things I was doing for him. There were a lot of things I was doing for him as well. So you have to be a person of value, and mentorship goes both ways because it's an act of service. In as much as it's a guidance relationship, it's also an act of service. So you have to be giving as much as you're taking. Don't just be someone that takes, and because if you want to know if you're someone that takes and keeps taking, when you send a message, people just ignore your message. Or once you come, people just tell you they're busy. So if you notice people always running away from you, just know you're one of those people that probably drain people. You shouldn't give off that kind of energy. You should give off an energy of, oh, when someone comes to me, they're going to gain something off of me. It's good to be a person of value because people want to be associated with people of value. So mentorship, one of the reasons it needs to be successful, it has to be successful, is because it's a thing of service. Service has to be applied. And then clear communication, right? When you understand the goals you've set, you understand who you want, clearly communicate what you need out of the mentorship, right? And then when you're communicating, the last point is accountability. Don't waste anyone's time. Nobody loves their time being wasted. I don't like wasting people's time. And I don't like people wasting my time either, because time is money. So don't waste people's time. If your mentor, if you're supposed to have like a one-on-one meeting with your mentor, maybe once a month, and you come to that meeting really prepared. You must have written down maybe if you're giving your mentor an update as to how far you've gone from the last time you guys had a conversation. Come prepared, come with your status updates, come with questions. If you have, meet with your mentor as if you're meeting, you should take it. Again, if you don't value the person, I don't see why you're being mentored by the person. I don't see why you're approaching the person for mentorship. Meet with your mentor as if you're meeting with, for those of us who are Christians, as if you're meeting with God, or as if you're meeting with a very important person, maybe with the president, not maybe any president or anybody you admire. So that time is valuable. You want to gain as much as you can. Like, you want to be strategic, and you also want to show them that you're prepared, right? Again, remember I said it's not a teaching relationship. It's a relationship where you're already self-aware. You know what you want. You know who can give you what you want. You know how you're going to service them. Like, you know how you can be of value to them. And you come prepared when you're meeting with them. So they also take you serious. So you have to be accountable. If you say you have a 3-month period to gain this knowledge, that 3-month period, apply practical steps from the conversations you've had with your mentor, and make sure you're gaining something out of this. Everybody wants a successful mentee. Mentors always want to be able to say, yeah, I mentored this person that is doing great in this particular field. This person was my mentee. So you want to show that you're someone of value. You want to show that whatever is deposited in you will not go to waste. So you have to clearly communicate whatever value you have to the mentor. Also communicate what you need out of the mentorship, and also be accountable, either by making sure you are strategic with what you're doing and you're applying whatever you're learning, and also that you're showing them that you're not just there to just take, you're also there to give, and you're also there to make sure you're passing it on to the next person, right? So these are the tools I feel like if mentorship, if these strategies are applied, it will lead to an effective mentorship, in whichever space you want to be mentored in. I think with that, yes, we've come to the end of my presentation. And if you want to stay connected with me, I'm Akalia Rachel across all platforms. And you want to send me an email, my email is akaliarachel@gmail.com. But aside that, on LinkedIn, on Medium, on Twitter, on Instagram, across all platforms, Akalia Rachel.